And who am I? That's not a secret I'll never tell. You know you love me. XOXO. Gossip Girl.
What's up? We got Gossip Girl, Season 3, Episode 13, The Heart Locket. This episode starts off with Serena telling Blair over the phone while walking street about her Serena and Nate's budding romance. Blair warns Serena to take things slow with Nate. And Serena says Nate asked her to be his date at a dinner for the French ambassador that next evening. When they hang up, Blair sees and picks up the same locket left at Bart's grave from a box on Chuck's dresser. Meanwhile, Nate runs into Damian. Serena runs into Damian, who she recognized from Nightly, the boarding school that Serena went to. They talk for a minute, and she just asks if he wants to catch up, but he says that he's meeting someone. As we know, it's Jenny, but he doesn't say it's Jenny. He just says it's a friend, but we all know that he's meeting Jenny. So Serena decides to leave. So they decide to meet up at a different time to catch up. And she asks if he's going to the French ambassador's dinner, and he says yes. At the Empire, Blair confronts Chuck over the locket, and he tells her it's just it's a worthless trinket left at Bart's grave. She asks if that's all suspicious, but Chuck says lots of women really liked him, and it isn't worth the trouble to hunt her down. She reminds him of his meeting with Henry Durrett, the rumored president of the Table at Terrier. He tells her that he can only get her an introduction, but she says she's perfectly fine with that, and she leaves for the day, and Chuck picks up the locket. He gets a text from his PI, Andrew Tyler, telling him that he found the jeweler and to call him. At the Vanderwoods, Lily grows Jenny on her Christmas break with her mom, and Rufus' ski trip with Lincoln Hawk. Damian arrives at the penthouse, and Jenny introduces Lily and Damian. He gives Jenny a wrapped box, and Jenny asks Lily if they can be alone. Lily pulls her aside and tells her to keep the door open, and then asks her if she knows when Rufus is coming home. Jenny answers that she thinks it's that it's that day, but to just call him that. When Lily's gone, Jenny opens her box to find assorted pills inside, mixed with macaroons. Damian tells her that he has a puzzle that needs solving. At the loft, Rufus arrives home from his ski trip and dodges a call from Lily. I'm going to say dodges, not ignore, because saying dodges is more. Meanwhile, Chuck meets with a jeweler who made the locket. He says he did make it, but he doesn't know who Bart gave it to. But a woman came in for a huge repair about a month ago. Chuck describes the woman he saw, but the jeweler can't reveal who it is for confidentially reason. Chuck reasons Bart was the original purchaser, so all he has left of him. The jeweler hands over the receipt and says the woman who brought it in was named Elizabeth Fisher, and she paid in cash and had it delivered when it was finished. At the Waldorf, Serena walks in to find Nate waiting for her in the front room. He explains that William was sick of watching him text Serena, so he sent him home early Nate wanted to surprise her. They kiss and they agree to take the relationship slow. However, they sleep together on the couch right after. At anyway, Nate meets at the cafe with Dan, who is hoping he'll see Vanessa. Dan admits that he hasn't seen or heard from her since his revelation. He also tells Nate that he read about him needing to take his relationship slower with a friend over someone you just met. Elsewhere, Serena meets Blair for lunch. Blair immediately picks up on that Serena ignored her advice to take things slow. The four talk in their respective restaurants, and Dan advises Nate to make sure Serena knows they're taking it slow and not to let her get caught up in the romance, while Blair advises Serena to invite some competition to the relationship to make up for their lack of restraint. After the interview, Damian explains the situation to Jenny. He's trying to sell drugs to the French ambassador's daughter, but she's under 24/7 surveillance and always surrounded by bodyguards. Jenny suggests meeting her in the bathroom or switching handbags. Damian explains that the state dinners are crawling with security and everyone included will search upon arrival. So the big problem is getting the pills in the first place. Jenny looks over the fashion coverage of the girl Valette de Ambergris and spots a jacket and an empty palette on the front. She tells Damian that she can make a copy of the jacket and wear the pills in, and then switch jackets at the end of the night from the code check. Damian agrees that, that's not a bad plan. At the law, Lily arrives to see Rufus but finds Dan instead. He tells her that he was surprised to be back that day, but he doesn't think he'd go there first overseeing her. They enter the loft to find it empty. Lily suggests maybe he stayed to ski another day, but Dan spots the skis and luggage, saying that probably didn't happen. Lily leaves and asks Dan to say she stopped by if he sees Rufus. At the Empire, Blair is dressed as Anya Karenina and calls Chuck, asks where he is. He tells her he's about to have the meeting, and she excitedly asks if he's with Mr. Durrett. Chuck replies that he was unable to make the meeting, and Blair asks if he's in the hospital because there's no other way he could threaten her future like that. He promises to scare the meeting because he'll be at the French ambassador's dinner. Blair sees the information about the locket and seriously asks why he missed the meeting. He replies he's trying to meet someone and with a more unpredictable schedule than himself, and they hang up. After Chuck asks the doorman of the hotel if he's outside, if Elizabeth Fisher has returned yet. The man says yes, and Chuck asks why didn't he get her message. He replies that she did, but she checked out of the hotel right after. Elsewhere outside, Rufus is wandering around when he runs into Holland. She asks if he runs into Holland Kimball. She asks what he's doing staying outside, and asks if he ended up going away, if he's back for good. Rufus says he came by the building to see her and explains, but now he's not sure if he wants to know. She asks him out for a cup of coffee, and they go off together. Back in the Empire, Serena arrives to see Nate, and she begins kissing him, but they don't say anything. And says they don't need to talk about anything at all. He tells her that maybe he should go to dinner alone, and they don't want to rush into things. Serena takes offense and sarcastically says the last thing she would want to do is rush into things and leave. In the elevator, she calls Damian and asks him to be her date to dinner, and he agrees. The next day, Rufus and Dan talk at the loft together. Tells Dan that he and Lily had a fight and they need some time to figure it out. Dan says that he's not telling her where he is. Not telling her where he is isn't a good plan to figure things out. He says that he needs to take his own advice by talking to her and finding out the truth. After later, Woodson, Jenny tries to try on the jacket for Damian, and he tells her that while it's perfect, he's going with Serena to dinner instead. Jenny tells him there's no way Serena would go to a state dinner wearing pills, and he answers that he probably won't tell her about them then. She threatens to tell her, but Damian says if she does, he'll be forced to tell her how she knew about them. At the Empire, Blair arrives to leave for the dinner with Chuck, who got the text saying Elizabeth Fisher is staying at the Allegonian. He tells her that he has to skip the dinner, and she's disappointed she met down on the proper introduction to Mr. Dewar. Blair realizes this is about the woman at the grave, and now she's mad that he lied and now he's abandoning her. He goes to look for the random woman, and Chuck says that Elizabeth knows things about his dead mom, such as about her favorite flowers, and even knows who he is. Blair reasons that she has no interest in being found by Chuck because nothing has happened in weeks since he tracked her down. Chuck replies that some things are more important than her social climbing agenda. Offended, Blair leaves. I kind of agree with Chuck on that. Technically, I agree with Chuck. Technically, nothing is more important than Blair's social climbing agenda sometimes. At the dinner, Serena arrives with Damian, which Nate sees. He's approached by Jenny, who fills him in on who Damian is. They enter together right after Serena and Damian. They exchange insults and ignore each other. Jenny compliments the jacket that Serena is wearing, and Damian offers to help her take it off. Serena refuses, saying that it's too pretty to take off, and it's a gift. Soon after, the French ambassador and Violette enter during the party. Inside, Blair meets up with Serena and meets Damian. He excuses himself to say hi to Violetta, and Blair congratulates Serena on taking her advice. Serena admits that it may be working. Then she can't believe he came with Jenny. Blair replies that she came with him most likely, but Nate says that Jenny probably came with Nate most likely. But Nate will be right where he wants them after that night. Serena then says Mr. Dory's entourage woman is perfect, and she can't. But then says that Mr. Dory's entourage woman is perfect, and she can't make an impression without formal instructions. Serena encourages her to try anyway, and Blair decides to. Elsewhere, Jenny is trying to introduce herself to Violetta, but is encouraged as she's walking away. Jenny tries to tell Damian he ruined the plan by bringing Serena, and he replies that it wasn't too hard to get her out of her clothes, so he'll find a way to get the jacket off her. Meanwhile, Nate tells Serena that he doesn't need to, that she doesn't need to make him jealous. Damian comes over and introduces himself before leading her away. He brings her aside and asks about Nate. She admits she brought him to make Nate jealous, and Nate's fine with it. He suggests they fully commit to really make him jealous and attempt to remove the jacket. She says she made a mistake and says she doesn't like him like that, and he tries again, but she refuses to walk away with the jacket. Jenny witnessing the whole thing outside. Blair tries to introduce herself to Mr. Dura, but is interrupted by the arrival of Chuck. She goes over and immediately tells her that he came to apologize and that he thinks Elizabeth may be his mom. Inside, Jane sits with Nate and tells him that Serena is about to leave. Nate admits that he shouldn't have listened to Dan, and Jenny agrees. He encourages him to not let her get away again. Back outside, Blair tries to tell Chuck that his mom is dead, and then it might have been one of Bart's many and he says that his mom being dead might have been another one of Bart's many lies. And that, well, it's crazy. Too many weird things have happened to be a coincidence, including only a locket engraved with an E. He says that he doesn't want to ruin her evening or her chances with Mr. Dirt. He just wanted to let her know. She replies that nothing more is important than being with him for what he's about to do, and they leave together. Inside, Serena strolls by the coat closet and is grabbed by the arm with the room. It's true that Nate grabbed her, and he admits that he was scared that they moved too fast. Things wouldn't work out, and he really wants it too. They kiss and taking their clothes off, jackets included. After the Underwoods, Rufus arrived to see a little lady to talk. He tells her that he wants to know the truth about the night she spent with William in the hotel room. No more lies, and no more lies. Back at the dinner, Damian goes to leave and gets his coat from the coat checker. When he comes in to get it, she doesn't see Serena and Nate. Steps on the jacket and opens one of the pockets with the pills inside. Before he leaves, Jenny stops him and says he ruined a major deal to fulfill a high school dream of being with Serena. He admits she's right, and she says he shouldn't be so quickly to dispose of her. Damian replies that words about the ruined job will get another customer and might put him out of business. Plus, he owns more money than he could steal back from his dad. He goes to leave, and Jenny sees the jacket on the floor, and Charles says the jacket is via license, and she needs to have it when she leaves, no matter what. The check girl quickly hangs it up and nods to make sure it will happen. Elsewhere, Chuck and Blair track down Elizabeth at her hotel. Chuck tells her that she ran away from him at the grave, and she admits that it was an emotional day for her. She asks what she means, and she shared a few memorable moments many years ago, and she was visiting her mom's grave, only stopping by Bart to pay respects. Chuck tells her that she knew favorite flower, his mom's favorite flower, and she was visiting. She knew the favorite flowers, and she was visiting very late. And who he was. She answers that she read somewhere that Bart had a son, and it looked like Bart. He says that most people will say he resembles his mom, and she says she never met her. He brings up the locket, and she explains that Bart gave it to her, and that E is for Elizabeth, but she gave it to him. But she thinks he gave it to all his girlfriends at the time. Chuck offers to keep. She offers to let Chuck keep it and apologize for not being able to help him find what he's looking for. Then walks away. He apologizes to Blair for taking her away from Mr. Dura, and she assures him it's okay, and she's only going to the restroom before they leave. He goes to bring the car around, and she goes to where Elizabeth is, grabbing her things. Blair tells her that she knows she was lying to Chuck, and she can tell by her face. She also says that Chuck has spent his whole life believing he killed his mom, and if she knows anything that can change that, it would be cruel not to share it. After Vanderwoods, Rufus is growing tired of Lily using Cece's sickness as a way to talk around what she did. She says that while she didn't sleep with William, she did kiss him, but it didn't mean anything to her. Rufus replies that they were engaged and means something to him, and goes to leave, saying he needs more time to figure it away from her. Lily begs him to stay to work things out, but he leaves before she can finish. At the log, Dan leaves a message for Vanessa telling her that things at home aren't great with Lily and Rufus, and he needs a friend. Back at the Vanderwoodsons, Rufus is on his way down when he decides to visit Holland at her apartment. Back at dinner, Nate and Serena go to leave when they notice the jacket is missing. Outside, Violetta leaves wearing the jacket, while Damian and Jenny walk. He tries to get him a cab, but she tells him it wasn't a date, and he has to ask if he wants one. Nate and Serena leave while she steals some random woman's coat, and they agree on no more slow. At the Empire, Chuck tells Blair that it was wrong with him to let Bart's girlfriends allow him to question his mother's death. She comforts him and tells him that she'll always be his family. When she's gone, he looks at the locket again before walking away, leaving his phone on the table. Back at the Allegheny, Elizabeth tries to call Chuck while looking at the other half of the locket that contains a photo of her holding Chuck as a baby. Mind blown. So yeah. And that's where we ended the episode. So yeah, Damian and Jenny are kind of getting close. Serena and Nate have fully started dating. Chuck believes his mom was dead for all his life, and this woman Elizabeth shows up thinking his mom. First tries to deny it, but then later we now know that is his mother. We know that is his mother. And yeah, that's kind of one of the major plot points. Dan is trying to get hold of Vanessa, and yeah, Dan is trying to get hold of Vanessa. But anyway, that's it. That's it for this video, and I'll see you next time for Season 2, Episode 14, The Lady Vanished. The Lady Vanished. I wonder how this Chuck's supposedly dead mom, not dead storyline is gonna keep going. But yeah, they're really trying to build a good storyline with Chuck. So anyway, yeah, that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time for another episode of Gossip Girl. You know you love me. XOXOXO Gossip Girl.